I'm going to be real awake after this. This is amazing.
Nice.
So, without burying the lead, hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Southern Fried Geekery podcast. As usual, I am Caleb Alexander McKenzie.
Matt Trogdon.
And we are recording this live from the palatial estate of one Mr. Matt Trogdon. We have moved where we were recording for a little bit. And since we are in his humble abode, Mr. Trogdon saw fit to make me an amazing cup of coffee using a method that I don't think I've ever tried before. It's the AeroPress. Mm-hmm. So before we get into these comics that we know and love, geek out for a second and talk to me about this coffee.
So this is Colombian bean.
Mm-hmm.
This is a coffee that I roasted here. So it's a medium roast, and it's made on the AeroPress. Anybody that likes coffee, I cannot recommend the AeroPress more. You can get online and find one for about $30.
Yeah.
And it has a very unique flavor. It's easy to clean up, very easy maintenance. Tastes somewhere in between a French press and espresso to me.
Yep.
You can actually make espresso on it if you want. There's actually an additional contraption you can make. I can't have freewheeling access to espresso in my home. It wouldn't be responsible, or I would have one.
You just see the veins creep up the side of your face.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's what you're having there.
Oh, dude, it is so delicious. And, again, thank you for giving us this space to come over here and record and talk about comics and to see, dude, your amazing house. It's awesome.
Thank you.
I saw a Sasquatch car on the way over here, so I knew I was in good company pulling through. And there were small children with a lemonade stand in your neighborhood. So just a really nice all-American place, dude. It's phenomenal. But this is episode 219 of this little comic book-based podcast that we do. For those of you who have been longtime fans, longtime listeners, longtime friends of ours, welcome back to another Sunday as we get our comics and coffee on. And talk about some of the stuff that we have read this week. If you have enjoyed the show and you like what we do here, don't forget we have a little humble group that gets together on the Facebooks and talks about things. You can jump over to Southern Fried Geekery on that site, or you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter. We're at SFG Podcast on both of those things. And if you see fit, you can always shoot us an email. Maybe you've got comments or concerns. Maybe you're a person who has his own book going on. Maybe you just want to send something that you don't want to blast out to the world. You can shoot us an email at southernfriedgeekery@gmail.com. And we will get to that in some sense of an order. It might not be short order, but it will be,
an order.
So I said I'm Caleb, right? Like I told the folks that. Right?
Yep.
We covered that.
Introductions were done. Yeah.
Okay. So I guess now we should talk about comics, right?
Yeah, I think that's how it works.
Well, actually, before we talk about comics, how was your week, man?
It was good. I was in the car a lot.
Yeah.
I was gone Sunday through Thursday.
Jeez.
And I stayed in a different hotel every night. So it was an interesting week.
Now this is kind of a work function.
Oh yeah, it was all work. Yeah. A lot of, and it was, about half of that was backwoods country driving. So saw a lot of I saw this old schoolhouse, had to be at least 120 years old, still had the bell on top of it.
One of the old one-room schoolhouses?
Yeah, fascinating.
Nice.
Fascinating. I saw one of those on my drive.
Dude, there's one. So I grew up in like kind of the middle of Arkansas in the Delta. There's still a freestanding one-room schoolhouse. It's called the Idlewild Schoolhouse, not too far from where I live. If we ever get like a weekend where we've been talking forever about doing a road trip and like hitting up comic spots and stuff like that. If we ever get to do that, we'll jump out to the middle of nowhere, have some decent barbecue, and then I'll take you to show you that. That'd be pretty cool.
I love that
part
stuff.
Of the Arkansas history, man. It's fun stuff.
Old school. That kind of stuff's fascinating to me. I watched a documentary. Quick side note: I watched a documentary one time about the blues, and they spent some time in the Delta looking at the old juke joints. That were still standing when I watched this documentary about 20 years ago. It's fascinating to think about what happened in those old buildings.
Oh man! And if you're talking about the blues, you can't not talk about the Delta.
Yeah,
like that's where this stuff was born at. But have you ever done the Blues Trail over in Mississippi?
Mm-mm.
You should. You can go to the B.B. King Museum. You can kind of see where dudes like Howlin' Wolf and Muddy Waters cut their teeth.
Love it.
And that's all music that I listen to all types of music, but I love the blues. Because it's kind of what I grew up on. It's fun stuff, dude. Rich musical history down here where we're at.
Mm-hmm.
My week was also it was just kind of swell and average. I got a bunch of stuff done. I filled out my application to take the 2022 bar exam.
Oh, I thought you were gonna. So you're going right into the bar.
Yep, rolling out. It's in July, so I take it then. So
Oh, you're not. You okay?
I graduate in May. This long hellscape of an endeavor will be over with. I will have my Juris Doctorate, and then I will take about a week to relax and to reorient myself and to just spend time like blowing out brain cells that I don't need anymore. And then I'm going to hunker down and treat studying for the bar like a 9 to 5 until July, with 1 or 2 breaks.
Yeah.
So, because I am going to Heroes Con in June, and that's going to be fun. But, you know, that's just like a couple of days. For the rest of it, just going to be grinding out bar prep stuff.
Wow.
So, and then they're going to fuck up and let me be a lawyer, I guess. Probably should find a job.
Get ready,
would
world.
Yeah, that would be nice. Gainful employment is a thing that I look forward to at some point. That'd be great. So, well, all right. Let's talk about comics. For those of you who, like I said, you know what the show is. You know how we kick this thing off. I'm going to turn over to my brother Matt here in all things in the sequentials, and he's going to tell us about 3 different books that he read this week. Maybe you liked them, maybe you didn't, but just give us kind of a short overview of them.
So first in my short stack from Marvel is Daredevil Woman Without Fear. This is the 3rd and final issue in this little arc. The writer is Chip Zdarsky, artist is Raphael De La Torre, colorist is Federico Blee, and then Clayton Cowles did the lettering. This is a really good little short story, fun characters, kind of expanding on the Devil's Reign thing that's going on. But the final page in this issue was a big reveal about something that's coming up. So
okay,
just if somebody's on the fence about this one, or if they've got it and not read it yet, you might want to jump on it, avoid spoilers. Second on my short stack, also from Marvel, is issue number 9 of Moon Knight. This one is the creative team on this one is Jed MacKay, is the writer, Alessandro Capuccio is the artist, colorist is Rachel Rosenberg, and Corey Pettit lettered this one. This continues to be a really good Moon Knight story. We've not had that in so long. It's really nice. I really like it. This particular issue is very interesting. Moon Knight's what he calls the Moon Knight mission. I believe that's the right term. Anyway, his HQ, something very interesting has happened to his HQ that's going to add to the mythos here that I'm looking forward to. And third on my short stack from AWA Upshot is number 3 of 5, The Crimson Cage, from John Lees, Alex Cormack, and Ashley Cormack. This is the wrestling story interpreted through or adopted through Macbeth.
Yeah.
This particular issue spends a lot more time on actual wrestling, which was interesting to see. I still don't understand why we don't have more comics about wrestling. I do not understand it. I don't understand why we don't have more comics on wrestling, and why we don't have like a cartoon wrestling. I mean, it'd be it's just fertile ground for this kind of fun silliness. But anyway, it's, once again, I'm bringing up Crimson Cage.
Well, especially because there's so much crossover between those two fandoms.
Yeah,
I mean, I think I'm actually a rarity in the fact that I read a lot of superhero stuff, read a lot of comics, and I don't watch wrestling. A lot of people that I know are steeped in both of those worlds. So there's a lot of crossover there.
In today's, there's good wrestling is not so plentiful nowadays. It's harder. It's out there. It's just harder to find, unfortunately.
Now, you read a book. Speaking of wrestling comics, one of your favorite books of last year was the one written by Jay Gonzo, the La Mano El Destino. He's got a second version of that. I don't know if it's a prequel, a sequel, equal. I have no idea. But he's got another La Mano book coming out. He's working on right now too. So shout out to Jay. So back to your Daredevil before I jump into my short stack. So a couple of cool things to note about kind of what's going on with that book right now. It's written by Chip Zdarsky, and he just got announced that he's about to be the ongoing writer of Batman.
Yeah.
So that's going to be pretty cool.
I think so.
Yeah. So have him. I wonder if that means that he's going to shift his focus to Batman, whereas he's kind of been the helm of Daredevil over at Marvel, and he's going to step away from that. I mean, who knows? He may be able to headline both. I have no idea, but that's pretty big doings.
Yeah.
And then if you've got a recent Marvel comic book lately and you're flipping through, you're going to see an advertisement for a new Elektra book, which I feel like probably stems out of this in some sense, but part of it's going to be written by Ann Nesenti.
Saw that.
So, and we haven't seen her write anything in a hot minute. At least I don't remember her writing anything in a while.
Yeah.
So it's good to see. And I'm a huge fan of Ann Nesenti. I think she's great.
Yeah.
So I, excited about that. So, all right. Well, jumping over to my 3 books that I read through and want to tell you guys a little bit about, all of which I really, really liked. Each of these I think is well worth your time. We'll start at Dark Horse because why not? It's great. It's looks like it's the last issue of what turned out to be a 4-issue series. Didn't feel like it was going to be a 4-issue series. Felt like it was going to go longer than that. But this is James Stokoe's Orphan and the Five Beasts. Everything that I'm seeing says this wraps up at 4. The comics app that I use is that tracks new like comics you bought and it shows you what's coming out. It's saying 4, so I don't know. This kind of ends abruptly, but it does wrap up the story of Orphan Mo and her going through and getting like reuniting the 5 powers to save the world. With a little twinge of cannibalism. If you know of cannibalism. If you know James Stokoe, you know what you're going to get. You know what you're looking at. It is steeped in kind of this manga-esque style and these manga-esque sensibilities. As they kind of fight the villain of the week, so to speak, going through with these different elements and these different quote unquote schools of martial arts. Dude, it's stunning. I would love to own a page out of this. If you can, now that it's wrapped up in 4, like I said, I feel like it's wrapped up in 4. Maybe there's a trade paperback coming out. It's worth getting. It's super fun.
Nice.
Meanwhile, over at the House of Ideas, a book that I did not know what it was going to be like. I wasn't sure how it was going to treat me. Came out and just grabbed me by the collar and shook me till I smiled. And that is She-Hulk #2. We read the first issue on the show. We both really enjoyed it. And it kind of set a pathway down. I think it's been enough time we can kind of spoil the event at the end of that, so to speak. We get back Jack of Hearts, who, look, so I grew up with that Busiek Avengers run, that Volume 3 stuff. I love Jack of Hearts. He played a big role in that, and he died kind of in the midst of that, and we never really saw him again. So he's back in the picture. Jen is finding her feet after being like the massive, big, like hulked out version of Hulk. She's more to this like Byrne-esque, sleek, slender Jade Giantess, still doing law stuff, but she's more of a fashionista again and getting back into her more comfortable role, I think. Super fun, trying to figure out what's going on with where Jack of Hearts came from, and he's a little bit different than he used to be. Where he used to didn't have a need to drink or eat anything, now he's got some more human needs to meet. So all on board with this. It's on the pull list. Cannot wait to see where it goes. I should say the creative team on that is Rainbow Rael, Roge Antonio, and Rico Renzi doing the colors. Really, really good creative team. I haven't read anything by Rainbow Rael since she did the Runaways book that she did. And then last but certainly not least, another number 2 is from Vault Comics. This is Radio Apocalypse #2. Might be the best thing I read this week. Seriously good. Again, I think we talked about the first issue of this on the show. We always try to piggyback and talk about it. I absolutely adore this book. Ram V writes it. I think he's a phenomenal writer. He's one of the, he's having a comeuppance moment last year. Anand, RK, Anisha, and Bidikar are the wrapping up the creative team on that. This is still looking at the person who is called the quote-unquote day tripper in this kind of post-apocalyptic world. There's all these dog-type creatures that want to rip everybody in half, and her job is to go from point A to point B with supplies because she can't do it at night, right? So she's kind of a runner. And this takes a look at these other individuals who are kind of these protector, mercenary-type folks who step in and protect everyone. And so those two have cause to meet in this, in the midst of a lot of carnage. And dude, the art in this is, it's ethereal. It's just a little bit left of focus. Like there are no clean lines. The colors blur a little bit. They're doing some really cool digitization tricks. Man, seriously, Radio Apocalypse and Vault Comics in general just continue to win my heart. I love that little publisher.
Nice.
It's like the little publisher that could. Just keeps chugging along. But yeah, that's my short stack.
Nice.
And it was a fun trip, fun little trip to read. Way different, completely different books. And that's what I love about comics. I feel like a lot of people who aren't in comics think of comics as a comics itself as a genre and not a medium.
Right.
Or they only think about superheroes.
Yep.
And, one of the books I spoke of, the superhero book, isn't even really a superhero book, right? Like it's more of a slice of life comic, it feels like, with a slight twinge of adventure. So, all three of which, I think all six of which, the books we read, way, way, way different than the book that we picked up and decided to read for this week's roundtable. And what is a roundtable, you might be asking at home if you're new to the show. Each week, here lately, it's just been Matt and I because our brother in arms, Craig, is taking care of family stuff. He was on, I think it was last week, he was on again with us. It was nice to have him back, nice to hear his voice again. Nice to try to broadcast and live stream, although the internet failed us. So thank you for those of you who tuned in for that short bit. But it was great to hear Craig's voice again. Unfortunately, he had to go back to doing family stuff. So, we sent all the love out to him, and hopefully things kind of get right. He told you a little bit about what was going on with his mom, so that's kind of what he's dealing with and doing. But all that is just to say, Matt and I met up serendipitously at the comic shop this week. We both converged on it at the same time, unplanned, and we walked to the wall and we looked around, and this is what we found. It is Follow Me Into Darkness. This is a book from Behemoth Comics. So the second week in a row, not in a row. Yeah. This is the second Behemoth Comics book we've done.
Yep.
And interesting that this publisher has caught our eye as much as it has. This is written, drawn, even the color art is done by an individual named Damian Connolly, with a little assistance by Anna Shadowcat. By the way, that's an amazing name.
Right.
And lettered by Athos Pastor. So again, also really cool name. And judging by just some of the artwork, this book takes place somewhere in Alaska. I don't think it ever pinpoints. Well, maybe it does if you're familiar with like some of these names.
Well, it does at one point say it happens in Alaska.
Okay, well, so I knew it said that it takes place in the suburbs of Colosimo. I don't know where Colosimo is.
I don't either. It just says on one of the pages, it gives the date, 2015, 1:15 a.m. Alaska.
Yeah. Okay. So I saw the Colosimo. I derived that it was Alaska from the little map on the front page of Alaska that shows you all the counties and stuff like that. But and you mentioned the dates, like the dates and times of this, you have to kind of pay attention to because it's not a linear story. It bounces back and forth. But just real quick before we get into the kind of meat and potatoes of this book, tell me what you thought. How did it treat you?
I didn't care for this one.
I get that. This is not a book, just full disclosure, we're going to, why bury the lead? It's not a book that's going to go on my pull list.
Yeah.
I did think that it was fun. I thought that they were doing some interesting things here. There are some neat tricks. It reminded me, and maybe this is not fair to the story itself, it reminded me of some other stuff that I've read that was the better version of this. Like it really reminded me of David Aja's Seeds. And actually, you know what? I think, was that book, that was Ann Nesenti too, wasn't it?
Oh, that I don't know.
I would have to look up. I think that's the last time we saw Ann Nesenti. Maybe. But it kind of reminded me of that. It's a post-apocalyptic story, kinda, with a bunch of weirdness that seems to go in. There's a lot of tangents that I think the story's probably going to pull together, but until it does, I just kind of felt like we were bouncing across the room like a ping pong ball, trying to follow a really broken narrative. So, it is creative. It just takes a little bit of work, and maybe that's just not work that I want to do for this story, whereas other stories I would have. So kind of the same. But let's get into kind of talking about what this book is. Again, this takes place in Alaska. It starts off, in 2005, but really the story, the epicenter of the story is in 2015. Somewhere around July 15th, the world comes to an end. There is an apocalypse. And a lot of things stem out of this moment, but they orbit this moment constantly, and they bounce back and forth through time, and they jump back to where, like I said, to where the book starts off in 2005, long before the apocalypse. And it's this small seemingly suburban Alaskan town, but they dip you right into the action. Like it kind of starts off in media res, right? So you've got this basement, and there is an individual being interrogated because he's a genius, and the narrator is his child. Well, I say that it is. I don't know if it's a child or a grown person, but this person who's being interrogated is this individual's father, and the father is somebody who knows a lot, and he's a scientist, and he's got secrets, and they're trying to draw these secrets out. But these these interrogators, these torturers, you might call them, they are not average people. They are powered individuals. One of them is literally a floating brain, who apparently has some type of psychic abilities, as you might imagine that a floating communicative brain would.
You would.
The other, looks a little serial killerish. He's got these big, thick glasses, kind of a 5 o'clock shadow.
David Koreshi.
Yeah, little David Koreshi. And then the third part of this trio is somebody called Watches Too Much TV Man, who seems to be able to, I guess, placate children, mesmerize them into complacency, as he does to one of the children, one of these fathers, one of the father's kids. And as he's being tortured, they just wreck this dude's life, end him. They get what they need, and then they erase one of the kids' minds. But it doesn't work on both of the children. It doesn't feel like, because he's the narrator. He's the one who's telling us this story, and it ends in that moment, just saying, "And then there was darkness." And then around July 25th, this is about 10 days after the apocalypse, that's where the story opens back up. And it opens up with these otherworldly figures, more individuals. We don't know if they're superpowered. We don't know if they're actually alien, but they look like an alien. And they are in the middle of this wreckage. They're in the middle of this carnage. There's a giant walking skeleton terrorizing the city. People aren't sure what's happening and what's going on. Everybody's kind of lost and running around. But all of these kind of figures seem to converge on this idea that there is maybe a clandestine predetermination that involves this family, these kids, and all of them are looking for the secrets that they pulled out of Dad's brain, it seems like. It's not really structured and laid out verbatim that way, but at least that's the way I put it together. I'm curious if you kind of had the same takeaway.
Yeah.
Because they are looking for, especially one of these main figures marching through the woods, all of them seem to be looking for something. Some of them are searching the city. There's a group of these superpowered individuals that seem to have pinned up. You don't know who's the good guy and you don't know who the bad guy is. And I think that's a really interesting thing. All of these people seem to be working against each other and you don't know who to root for. I don't know that that's a good thing. I don't know that that's a bad thing, but it's just a thing. And I find it a very interesting storytelling element because you don't know what to latch onto. So from there, where's the story going to go? Well, we don't really know. Again, it's one part clandestine weirdness. It's another part Alaskan wilderness survival story. It roots around this family and these powered individuals. And then it culminates in this first issue kind of with this character named Jolene, who's been hiding out in this cabin. And she seems to be the linchpin in all of this. And these superpowered individuals, some of them look like superheroes, some of them don't. They feel like they have to save the world. And she is the key to all this. The story is done completely in black and white. There is no color in this book. A lot of it is photo referential and digitally rendered stuff. I will say I did not mind the art. I thought I would when we first looked at it. When we first glanced through it, I was like, okay, black and white comic, that's cool. But this also looks just really, it looks like the photograph that was just the negative was taken out of it.
Yeah.
Which I've seen before. Some people do that really well. Some people do that really poorly. I think a really well version of that is, Andrea Sorrentino. He, off the top of my head, he does that really well. Which also it turns out that he is multifaceted, because if you just read the book that he wrapped up with Jeff Lemire, with the dogs in space, he goes completely in a different artistic direction, which kind of blew my mind. But no, as I was reading this visually, like there were notes of Sorrentino, and like I said, it reminded me a little bit of David Aja.
Yeah.
Not as much with the digital manipulation that David Aja does. It's a little bit more simplistic, but it didn't take me out of the moment as much as I thought it would. And I think that was partially because it was all in black and white. I think having that washed out some of the stuff that I would have been. For instance, say if this was a book by Simon Kudaransky, who I don't like, I just don't like his stuff. His stuff's nominally and normally colored, and I think that adds to some of the stuff that I can criticize. With this being, so steeped in just blacks, and it's not even, there's not really any shadows. There's a little bit done with like texture and zip tone and stuff, but mostly it looks like a negative space. I think that made it more digestible for me, which is weird because I didn't think it would.
Yeah. I don't like beating up on I don't like coming on here and beating up on stuff.
For sure.
I didn't care for this book. I do like what the creators were trying to do. And I do think they need to keep doing stuff in similar vein.
Yeah.
I like, for the most part, I like the way the lettering was done for the different situations and the different characters. I like the black and white presentation. I think I would like to see more of that. But the story, I just didn't care for the story. It didn't grab me. I didn't find myself really caring about what was going on.
Well, and part of that's because it's really just, at least for me, it's really disjointed, right?
Yeah. The disjointed thing, there's plenty of those disjointed stories that I like because they still manage to be compelling. This one, I just didn't care for this one. It just didn't do it for me. That's all I know how to say.
I think, like in thinking about stories like that are nonlinear, kind of disjointed, that have a lot of moving parts, like from a craft perspective, you have to ask yourself why. Yeah. Why is that story doing this? Like, what is the writer and the artist in a dualistic medium like comics? What are they trying to imbue in the reader? And a lot of times it's in anxiety because it makes it's like when you're in a fight, for those of you who have done any type of like martial arts or anything, and you get off balance and you're trying to regain your footing.
Yeah.
Like it throws you off balance and you're not really sure how to gain your traction. I don't know that this one was successful in doing that.
Like, it wasn't for me.
Yeah. I never felt like I was off balance. I just felt like I was like dodging haymakers. Like I didn't feel like it wasn't, in a lot of those stories, it feels like organized chaos, right? Like you can kind of see the mechanics of what they're doing, even if you don't really see what's coming.
Yeah.
This didn't feel like it was organized chaos. It just felt like a little too chaotic.
Yeah, that's fair.
And it was hard to latch onto with any kind of through line. I will say towards the end of the story, once they got past like what was supposed to be a setup, that started coming together because you start to realize who the team members are. They start to give people names.
Yeah.
It starts to culminate and ferment into an adhesive narrative.
Yeah.
But it took a while to get there.
Yeah.
Now I'm curious, so we've talked about this being kind of photo referential and photo digitized. The pages that I think look the best were the ones that weren't that.
I feel the same.
Yeah. So like when he draws this skeleton, because like literally like the day after the apocalypse, there's a giant skeleton walking through the town, and like people are stopping and pointing, and it doesn't seem to be like wrecking the place. It just seems to be kind of there.
Yeah.
Like that artwork was really stunning. There's another panel early on where a character is like obliterated. Like where like he just gets turned to mush, like eyeballs and stuff like that, and it's just really nasty. That was awesome. It felt very manga influenced.
Yeah.
But they lose me at the photo, like when it's just really, really photo.
Yeah, same.
But again, it's like, were you able to place any of the people? So like when I'm reading a Simon Kudaransky book, I can name the celebrities. And hey, to be fair, like it's not just Andrea Sorrentino. Like I've read some of his books, and I'm like especially with his Joker series, I was like, no, that's this actor.
Yeah.
Like he found this picture and he did it, which I don't particularly care for.
Same.
But I wasn't able to place any of these people, but some of them look familiar, and I was wondering if you had pegged any of them.
Well, I'm sure you placed the one that was named in there.
Well, yeah, him.
Yeah, the singer.
Yeah.
And so I recognize people in this.
Yeah.
But I didn't know their names.
Yeah, that's me. Like some of these characters look really familiar.
Yeah.
but I can't. Like, it's just got me thinking.
Yeah.
So.
And I don't care for that at all in any given book. Even, there's a book that I'm sticking with right now that's only that, and it really bugs me, but the story is compelling enough to where,
Which book is that? If you don't mind me asking.
That is the book, The Fourth Man.
Okay.
It's based on a true story, true crime. I talked about it on the show a few weeks ago. Yeah. I didn't care for it at all when I first read it, because it was just the photo, it was straight up these very big Hollywood actors, and it really bugged me. But that's a personal preference. Obviously that's totally subjective. I could see, on the other hand, how someone would love it. It's like, this is great, because this is like, if the movie happened, this is who would play it. I could see somebody wanting having that take. I don't care for it, because it's like, look, dude, you're an artist. I want to see you do your thing.
It is kind of interesting, though, that we live in a day and age where we can do that, with technology. So, I'm sure that you're, and a lot of people who listen to our show are like me, we grew up playing the cast your movie game, so to speak. Like, who?
Oh, of course.
If we did the Avengers right now, who would be Thor? And now we live in a day and age where we're getting these cinematic events, and we can put a face to those names. But it is interesting that we live in an era that you can take a photo of these celebrities and you can make a story with them. And especially because, for better or worse, and sometimes I think it's worse, I consider it to be worse, comics are treated as a farm for...
an IP farm?
Yeah, for cinematic IPs.
Yeah.
Be it from the big two or just from comics in general. A lot of these are film scripts that they couldn't do anything with, so they come back and say, hey, I guess I'll just make this a comic, and it's done by people who don't have any love for the medium, really.
Yeah.
So like I said, I think that's worse, but it is kind of neat when it's done the right way. That you can have these, you can, instead of casting a comic book movie just in your head, you can literally make a comic using actors.
Yeah.
I would assume you would have to get some type of permission to do that. Because one would think that they own their likenesses, or especially if you're using pictures from like films that they've done, like that's trademarked and copywritten. So I'm not sure how they get around that. Maybe if you manipulate it and you scratch it up enough, it doesn't count. But yeah, that's just kind of a weird idea.
Yeah.
So, but I can see the from an artistic storytelling standpoint, I can see the draw to do that as an exercise. I just really hope it never becomes like the thing. I don't want to see that become like commonplace.
Yeah, I certainly don't either.
And maybe commonplace is the wrong word, because it is kind of commonplace now. Like, off the top of our heads, we can name books that do this.
Yeah, I know of 3.
Yeah.
right now.
But 3 in a sea of what comes out every week.
Of course,
100 comics. So that's not. They're the exception, not the rule.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But yeah, I'm not going to pick up the second issue of this, but that's not to say it's bad.
Just not for me.
I feel like if you're a person who likes indie comics more than maybe you like mainstream comics, if you're a person who like, you just really enjoy the black and white, you want to support these smaller creators. Maybe if you're somebody who tends to really like conspiratorial stories, this might be for you.
Do you like the X-Files?
Yeah.
If you missed the X-Files.
Like, now that you say that, like, there was very much an X-Files vibe to this.
That's what I got. As soon as page 1, I was like, this totally feels X-Files.
See, I didn't, which I'm not steeped in the X-Files lore, so I haven't seen it all the way through. So this might be for you. It's clever, I think. Especially from somebody who, again, I've never seen or read anything by Damian Connolly. I don't know how long he's been making comics. If this is his first endeavor, or if he's still kind of like figuring things out, then this is great. Like, and that's kind of the scale I think you have to judge something like this on too. Is this person a veteran? If this person is a veteran, then I've got some problems with what was delivered. If this person is a newcomer, if this is somebody who's still cutting their teeth and figuring things out, I've got less of a problem. I think like this is better than what I expected on one end of the scale. It's not what I expected on the other end of the scale.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's fair to judge, because you should judge the product just kind of based on what it is. But that's the other side of my brain at work, right? Like, I like to see people. That's the craft aspect of it that I'm interested in. So, I I did, since we're talking about Behemoth, I did read something else this week that I thought was really fun, and I'm curious if you saw it. There's a book called Heavy Metal Drummer from Behemoth Comics that is, dude, I'll bring it to you. It is ridiculous. It's heavy metal, coked out drummer in a shitty thrash band that starts taking this drug and starts seeing dragons and stuff. It's just, it is ridiculous. It is just completely made to be ridiculous. It is metal as hell. These characters are funny. It is trippy. Like it's substance abusive kind of trippy. So
I always think of Ozzy Osbourne back in the 90s. He said that the craziest people he met in the business were drummers.
Yeah. It's funny because halfway through the story, like in the story, they keep changing t-shirts, and then one of the times where he's like slamming a needle into his arm, he's wearing a Black Sabbath shirt.
Oh shit!
Yeah, I'll bring it to you. It's fun, ridiculous, doesn't take itself seriously. I texted you a picture of it where it's got the drummer with the dragons or aliens.
Oh, that's what that was.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what. Yeah. So that's kind of what you're getting in. It's kind of underground, head shoppy comics.
Nice.
So I think you would dig it just for the ridiculousness of what it is.
Yeah.
So I'll like I said, it's called Heavy Metal Drummer, and I don't know the creative team off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But Behemoth's another little. I knows nothing. I've seen Behemoth in previews catalog. I normally just kind of skip past it.
Yeah.
I don't pay a lot of attention to it, but I guess I'm gonna have to start paying attention to it now.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
The little indie publisher that's kind of doing some cool stuff. So especially with their I forgot to bring you the Polar book I was going to.
Oh yeah.
Because we were talking about it last week. So yeah, good stuff. Again, not a bad book. I want to reiterate that this is not us saying don't go buy this.
Yeah.
Go buy it. Go buy it and come tell us what you think. Maybe we're wrong. Maybe we missed something. Maybe it's just a different type of story. We would love to talk to you about it. So go do that. Pick it up. It's worth checking out and kind of experiencing, because it is an experience.
It is. Yeah.
You have a very striking looking thing sitting in front of you, and I'm dying to hear about it.
So my book of the week is a collection called Charlie's War. This is by Pat Mills and Joe. I'm sure I'm probably saying this wrong. Colquhoun, I believe is how it's pronounced. So this is a collection of some strips that were done in an old British war comic series called Battle.
Okay.
Battle has actually been called one of, if not the best, war comic ever. Very highly regarded by one Garth Ennis, who we know is a big war comic fan. And Charlie's War is the most popular strip out of that whole run. They all had different stories. It was like a running anthology, maybe is what you want to call it. So this is something I've known about for a long time and always had on my list to read. So I found this collection. Mine's actually, this is a hardcover collection, and I got it for $15. I mean, it's very reasonably priced.
It's a beautiful. Like just the production value alone on it is beautiful. That spot varnish on the front is nice.
Yeah, it's all black and white. You know, as British comics were. But for the most part, back in the day, this is a World War I story. Specifically, takes place between June 2nd, 1916 to August the 1st, 1916. And it's about this young man who joins the war effort. He lies. He's underage. He lies about his age to join the war effort. And his name is Charlie, and it's just about his adventures as he joins. It goes right to him in the trenches, and he's not a particularly smart young man. He doesn't have any special skills. He's not super good at fighting or shooting.
You said he's just a teenager, right?
Yeah. So, but what he is brave.
Yeah.
And what he does is care about his fellow soldiers. So his two attributes are bravery and caring for his fellow soldiers. So he's not a propaganda type character,
right.
Like, hey, he's the best shot in the army, or he's the strongest guy in the platoon, and he's not a propaganda type character. It's a very real to life type of guy. Like someone who would lie to get to the war front sooner.
Right.
This is a pretty accurate representation of that.
Yeah,
It's
that
like,
makes sense.
what kind of person would do that? But the art in it, I'm just going to hand this over to you so you can take a look at it. I can tell you right now, based on what I know about specifically British comics, this guy worked way too hard for what he was paid. The art in it is outstanding. Yeah, it was very heavily researched. One, you can tell by looking at it. Two, I mean, it actually says so in the introduction of the collection that there was a lot of research gone into this to make sure that the backgrounds and the character representations, the equipment, everything was accurately reproduced. And this is one of Pat Mills' very, very earliest works when he got into the business. And, martial law is my favorite thing that he's ever done. But I think this one is superior in storytelling and frankly, the writing. I think this might be the best written thing he's ever done. Just the dialogue, the interaction between the characters. I think this stands head and shoulders above anything else he's ever done.
Well, without having read it, just based off of what you're saying, it sounds like it's one of the most serious things that he's ever done.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, when I think about martial law, like martial law is, and I don't mean this to, like, it's not knocking it, but it's not necessarily a serious book.
No.
Right? Like, it's funny. There are parts of it meant, like, it's absurd.
There's a lot of absurd comedy to it. The underlying theme is very serious, but it's delivered in a schlocky, funny way in a lot of ways.
Right. The same with Judge Dredd.
Judge Dredd's and others. Yeah.
There were some moments in the Slain stuff that I read from that book that you get. So, but this seems like it's taken a very serious tone to it.
Very. I mean, it deals with a lot of different characters and how war affects them. So, a lot of PTSD is obviously low-hanging fruit for these kind of stories, but also it talks about different types of personalities, like those who are more selfish in war, those who will, maybe questionably sacrifice their fellow soldiers to advance themselves, those who will make decisions in war and then not stand up for those decisions when they don't go in a way that would propel their career.
Yeah.
All those kinds of things that soldiers see in real life on the front.
Stylistically, like, just looking through here, it reminds me, I mean, part of this is just the subject matter and the literal area from which this was produced, but it reminds me a little bit of Carlos Esquerra, by way of, like, Joe Staton. Like, it's a little bit more cartoony. Like, it's got kind of a Dick Tracy line to it. But with the texture and the feel, and I say the Dick Tracy line, like in the facial features, like in the exaggeration of some of these folks' faces, but they're a little bit more rounder. But in the texture and the amount of detail that's poured in here, reminds me a lot of Carlos Esquerra.
The backgrounds, everything but the actual characters themselves. Yeah, I can see that. The character designs themselves doesn't look like Carlos Esquerra to me at all. But the background,
that's where I say the Dick Tracy aspect of it comes into, like, in the more exaggerated cartoony style, almost a little bit of, well, see, like, I turn the page and, like, this guy reminds me of Steranko, but then you look at these guys over here and there's almost like an Archie feel.
Well, and something else that a lot of people don't realize about war comics, a big challenge in war comics is everybody's wearing the same uniform. Mm-hmm. So you've got to be very adept at creating unique looking characters so you know who is who without struggling with it.
Right.
And this artist does a fantastic job of that. It's not hard to remember who's who in this book because he draws them so uniquely without it being over the top, I guess is what I'm saying.
I just opened up a page that I would kill to have. It's obviously trench warfare, World War I, and these soldiers appear to be German soldiers, and they're in the trenches with a snowman.
Yeah,
that's like just imagine in the middle of war, while you having you're fighting trench warfare, gas, and everything else, and building a snowman.
Yeah, that's a Christmas story.
Yeah,
and it's about the the British soldiers and the German soldiers kind of taking a break during Christmas not to fire on one another.
Right.
And throwing, they start playing games with the enemy soldiers. Throwing, the British soldiers will throw the Germans food to have on Christmas Day, for example, because the Germans are low on rations. Mm-hmm. That stuff really happened. I mean, it's just, war is a fascinating thing. I mean, to break that down, you're celebrating Christmas with your enemies. And something that's not necessarily illustrated here is when in World War I, when these kind of things would happen, or even if it wasn't on Christmas Day, whenever the British would start, when they were ordered to open fire again, the British would yell out, "Keep your heads down, Krauts, incoming." Mm-hmm. It's just fascinating to think about stuff like that.
Well, and I mean, because you think about it, for the most part, like, yeah, these people are obviously willing to kill each other. That was their job, but they're not the ones who are fighting. Like they're
not bloodthirsty.
Yeah, they're not the ones who are perpetrating the war. They're not the government individuals who are moving on each other. And I mean, like, we try to keep things. We try to keep current events out of this because a lot of ways it's escapism, but that's like, you look at what's happening in Ukraine right now. The Russian soldiers, like, there are reports of Russian soldiers, especially these young guys, who are just putting their shit down and they're walking off. They're going AWOL, which they will be killed for if they're found. But they're not the ones who want this war. Like, they don't want to be there. This is all Putin. Like, I mean, this is all these Machiavellian assholes at the top who are perpetrating these war crimes. And obviously the soldiers are doing their job. I mean, we're watching cities get bombarded and blasted and stuff, but on the ground, like, a news program that I was listening to, and part of this, I get it's propaganda, but they had a voicemail from a Russian soldier who died after leaving his voicemail. He was like 20, and he called his mom and left her a voicemail, and it was just like, this is not what we expected. These people are yelling at us. They're calling us fascists. Mama, I don't want to be here. Yeah. These are...
So that's, that kind of sentiment is reminiscent of Vietnam. Right. The guys that were drafted to Vietnam didn't believe in the cause. A lot of them, I mean, I'm not talking about all of them, but so many of them didn't believe in the cause. They were drafted. They were there by force, killing somebody they didn't understand why. Clearly not a threat to the United States. So, yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting parallel as far as how some soldiers handle it and their sentiment of it.
Yeah, it really is. So, no, man, we'll check that out.
This is just a, I don't know. There is a lot of dialogue to this, but it's very compelling. There's, for example, and this might be one of the, I don't know, Pat Mills has written a lot of very, very smart things. Very smart things. Yeah. And this is really smart, but the storytelling in this, I think, just stands so far above anything else of his I've read. And a standout is Charlie is dealing with some horrific, terrifying moments in war. And he's getting letters from his mother complaining about very pedestrian things,
mundane, like the things that you're, at the end of the day, it's the things you're over there fighting to protect. Yeah, right. Yeah, like that comfort.
And that part of it is not the compelling part. Is when he's responding back. He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, Mother. I know that can be really frustrating. Yeah. Please say hello to so and so." And he's writing this in the middle of an extremely brutal, terrifying campaign, and he's not telling his mother about any of it. Right. It's like, "Hey, I hope to be home soon. Hope to help you with so and so. I understand it's hard while I'm gone. I understand it's hard while I'm gone for you, Mom." And he's dealing, so that kind of thing. The parallel between that, his writing, and what he's hiding from his parents and his family, was, again, very, very compelling. If you have any interest in war stories, war comics whatsoever, I can't recommend this one highly enough.
Yeah, I wanna read that. And I realized after the fact what those facial expressions, John Lucas. They remind me a lot of John Lucas's artwork. He kind of has like, it's Carlos Ezquerra and the texture in the background with John Lucas and the formation of the people and the expressions in their faces and stuff. Which, John Lucas also did a stint on Dick Tracy, so that makes that makes sense. Man, yeah, like. Just again, I'm just sitting across the room looking at the table. The production of the book, beautiful. Like that silhouette of a soldier against a gray sky with the red poppy.
Yeah.
Incredibly well packaged.
Yeah. It's $15 for a hardcover. I can't think of a better value when it comes to a above the normal price for a comic book collection. I mean,
Right.
Marvel, like if this was a Marvel book, this would be $50.
I was going to say, I've got the Masterworks, which are actually, I think, a little bit smaller than that, but the hardcover Masterworks, which are about the same thickness, easily $60.
Yeah.
For that leather bound trade paperback, which is where you said this said $15. Where did you get this at?
Online. I got it just an online retailer. It's not hard to find.
Okay.
You can just find them, online retailers have them.
Well, very cool. I may have to hunt that down, just because I'm a fan of that British black and white comics. I think they're awesome. I've got my love of Judge Dredd comes from my love of that, not Judge Dredd itself. It's from these, like, again, I've got like the giant Carlos Ezquerra hardcover.
Yeah.
That's just all of his Judge Dredd work. I've got the Brian Boland one too.
Yeah.
Just because I like the look to it. So,
Yeah.
well, I'm going to bring us up to a more contemporary time. A book that came out, I would say, like 2 weeks ago. It's fresh. It's probably still on the shelf if you go look at your local comic shop. And that is coming from a publisher that I don't think we've talked about today.
Nope.
The Distinguished Competition, the DC Comics of it all, featuring a character that you may have heard of. This guy named Clark Kent, Superman. In the title that I think is his oldest title, and that's Action Comics. Action Comics number 1040 came out here recently, and this is part 5 of what they're calling the War World Saga. It's being written by Philip Kennedy Johnson. Ricardo Federici does some amazing art in this book.
Yeah.
Lee Luridge does the colors. Dave Sharp on the letters. Daniel Sampier and Alejandro Sanchez did a really stunning, striking cover that looks nothing like the interior pages, as covers are wont to do these days. The interiors of this man, though, are insane, like sketch oriented, muted colors, very vibrant, just going everywhere, hyper detailed, incredibly, like it's just stunning. Like you can smell the graphite when you look at them, and you can tell that this is probably somebody who does a lot of like fantasy comics. Which, if you've seen Philip Kennedy Johnson, his Last God book that he wrote, very similar in tone, but what's happening here is our man Kal-El, Superman, if you will, as he's known amongst his friends. You can I call him Soups because we're tight like that. He's on Warworld. He is fighting the Warsoons and dealing with a longtime foe. Well, I should say he's dealing with a foe named Mongol, who you should be familiar with if you've read a lot of DC War. But this is the latest iteration of Mongol. Mongol is a title on Warworld, and he's trapped here. They've got him broken down. This is a very fractured, broken planet ran by these siege machines that keep it, like, literally the planet was destroyed and they've stitched it back together, and they have these giant machines holding it together, which also are, it's ran off of kryptonite. So it's like killing Superman's powers. So this is a depowered Superman, and it's he's being held prisoner. And in the area that he's being held prisoner under this Mongol, it's a very gladiator feel. Like they have the fighting pits, and they are putting against each other for, just because they relish in death.
Yeah.
And part of this is they're enslaved, and they, like, this place exists on hate and on pain. But also it's meant to be these kind of Warsoom characters is the cream rising to the top. They see a freedom in subjugation. Like if you're the person who makes it, you get to be a general. So you literally start off as a prisoner, and you slaughter everybody you've ever known, and you deal with being beaten, broken, and whipped all under the foot of Mongol. And if you do good, you get to be his right-hand man for a little bit until he betrays you and kills you and does whatever.
Oh, bummer.
So that's essentially what Cal's doing. Cal is being a gladiator, but Cal, being Cal, is not killing. Like, he's finding interesting ways to get past having to kill, to get past fight, like some of these beasts that he's having to deal with, some of the people that he's having to fight. He's because he's Cal, he's got a good heart. He knows that, like, he's not going to kill somebody who at the baseline is fighting because they are enslaved, because that's not who he is, even without powers. And so he's having to, in very human ways, find out ways to survive. And of course, Mongol's getting a little perturbed by this, but he's also entertained. And so, in juxtaposition to Superman, you've got these twins they work as a tag team, really. And all through this, up until this 5th issue of this, they've worked together and they've helped each other climb the ladder, kept each other safe. What does that tell you? What's about to happen with these folks? Obviously, Mongol's going to come in and split them up, and he's going to tell them to go after each other in the most inhumane, barbaric thing imaginable, because that's what he would do. Like, oh, you think you're the best? Then kill your brother. Oh, you think, like, kill your sister. One of you bring me the other one's heads, or you're both going to die. And in this, there's freedom. Like, in this, there's peace. It's kind of like fighting for peace. It doesn't make any sense. But Cal is stuck here, and he's not here. He's here a little bit by choice, right? So if you've read up to this, he's been working with a team. This team that we saw in Superman and the Authority. These folks that he teamed up with in that run. Midnighter, Apollo is in there. And he's still in communication with them a little bit, but they're having to use back channels. Like they've got people who are working back and forth. They don't have technology. And he gets a message at the end of this story that Midnighter's about ready to start blowing up these machines, which means a lot of these people on Warworld are going to die, but it's going to give Clark his powers back. Clark's not having it. He's like, no, like we talked about this, don't do that. That's a lot of unnecessary death. These are people who shouldn't be here. These are people who didn't ask for this. I don't want them dying in my name. Like we don't lose 99 to free 1,000. That's not who Superman is. And I think Philip Kennedy Johnson gets that in the character. Even if it means it hurts Clark. Like this is a very vulnerable Clark because he's not powered.
Yeah.
And Mongol just blasts him. But Mongol finds himself in a hard position. Because Clark does come face to face. Like in order to save these twins that he's been hanging out with, he steps in front of them. He takes the brunt, like the focus and the attention away from them. The brunt of the abuse that they're about to face, he brings it to himself in front of Mongol. Like Mongol is not a lightweight. And as Clark just again takes this hit and is hurt, it just speaks to the humanity of Clark Kent. Like in this moment, he's the most Superman that I think he's ever been. I'm using air quotes to say that, of course, but depowered, not Superman, but he's the most Superman he's ever been. Like that's when he's the most himself. He's the most heroic. This puts Mongol unexpectedly in a rock and a hard place because the fans, these people who are cheering, who are watching these gladiatorial events, they start to see these as martyrs, especially Clark Kent, especially Superman. Like there's a martyrdom here, and so he can't kill him, even though his guards are begging to. Like Mongol's advisors are like, dude, there's something happening here on Warworld. Like our subjugates, you're losing your grip on them. You're losing your like they're cheering for these people, not in what's happening to them, but they're actually investing in them as people. And if you don't do something now, whenever you do it, it's going to make him a hero. Like it's going to give them the drive, the spirit to break the proverbial and physical chains to this. But he can't. He is some sense of honor bound to make Clark Kent die. Without like assassinating him. Like he wants him to die on his feet. Like there's something about it to where he wants the inevitable to happen, but he won't kill him behind the scenes. He won't do this like these backhanded poison things that his viziers are asking him to do. Of course, though, like I said, there are some machinations happening behind the scenes. And in order to stop Midnighter from doing the thing that's going to kill the most people, kill some of these folks, because Midnighter's not afraid of collateral damage, right? That's like I love Midnighter, like that. He's one of my favorite characters, not only because he's gay as hell, my people, but it's because he's not afraid of collateral damage. Like he's the anti Batman. Like he will drop bodies, and so Superman starts like he's gonna stage a prison break to get out of here, and does a pretty good job of it. And as they're getting out, he's walking through War World, and you start to see all of these creatures in chains, and you just get an idea for what this world actually looks like, and some of the background, and all of these creatures that are from these subjugated planets that Mongol has, including, to pique your interest, some great worms. So we now have great worms as canonized in DC Comics. But look, it wouldn't be this is not the end of the story, right? Like, we still have a little bit of story to tell in here. So that's where I'm going to leave this at. Again, this has been a really fun story. I have never been, this is the first time Action Comics has ever been on my pull list.
Interesting.
Yeah, I've never been a huge fan of it. And I can't explain why that I jumped on it, other than the fact that I read Superman and the Authority, and I kind of fell in love with the story that was being told there. And it was one of those things where it felt like that story was not the story that was supposed to be told. Like, I think that was part of the 5G thing, but they found a way to they found a way to shoehorn it into this ongoing continuity, and it dumped out into this story. And so I really wanted to follow up and see what's going on there, partially because I'm a Midnight and Apollo fan, and they play part and parcel into this. But I'm locked in. I love what they're doing with this character, with all the characters. And this version of Superman is really compelling to me, because it's again, this is, what is a better sign of your character than being able to maintain and having the fortitude not to change or not to break, and to have this indomitable will when you're at your weakest. That's what makes you Superman. It's that spirit of the farm boy who grew up in Kansas, and like the all-American. His powers are not what make him who he is. And in these moments where it tests him the most, that's what makes Superman to me. And Superman's not a character that I grew up in love with. Like, our friend Dalton has been a Superman fan since he was like knee high to a grasshopper.
Yeah.
We have all these people who were steeped in it. I never cared about it.
Me either.
I was one of those people who were like, oh, it's Superman, it's boring. What makes Superman cool, and what makes it the most stories really compelling, are the people around him.
Yep.
And they do a really good job with this. But I will say, as I've become an adult, Superman as an entity, as a person, as a character, as a profile, has become more compelling to me, because I think you become disillusioned with what people are like in the real world, and it is fantastic. It is strange to see an adult hold on to that just purity.
Yeah.
And as somebody who,
uncorruptibility.
Right. And it's like especially since honestly, it is a very recent thing. I think it's since law school, where you have to read about these people in the worst moments of their life, and you read about corruption, and you read about people who have had terrible things happen to them, or who have bent under pressure. That, like, Cal has become all the more compelling of a read to me.
Well, and I was just explaining this to my girlfriend. I didn't like Superman,
right,
for most of my life growing up as a comic fan. Or Captain America. I was like, they're boring, lame. Mm-hmm. But what I came to understand eventually was that they have an important place in these worlds because they're the gold standard.
Right.
They're the gold standard. And like, when Superman walks into a room, to kind of coin a phrase, everybody stands up a little bit taller.
Yeah.
Everybody checks their posture when Superman's in the room. Nobody wants to disappoint Superman.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like your dad walking in as a child.
I mean, he's truly an idolized character, and nobody. You need that in these worlds. You need that in these worlds. And it's hard to write Superman stories because he's OP. He's overpowered.
Yeah.
So you've got to understand the compelling stories. For me personally, I guess I have to say, is when he's not using his powers, or when he's
holding
could
back.
Be, and doesn't. When he could be using his powers and doesn't, and you really have to appreciate. Again, I've said it many times. Superman's motivation is to help people, as compared to, Batman's, which is to punish people.
I mean, and I think that's why you see Superman, like it's these really, it's easy to make fun of these moments or to overlook them or to just think that they're just fluff or whatever. But Superman is just at home. He feels like rescuing the kitty from the tree is equally as heroic as deterring the nuclear bomb, because it's that drive to just better the world.
Help.
Like every positive act, every sense of help is another thing that makes Earth worth saving.
Yeah.
And for him, that's like talking about a kid who came from a planet that was destroyed. That's the drive, is to make this planet live up to the legend of what it is, or make it the best that it can be.
Yeah.
Even though it's fundamentally flawed.
Of course. Yeah.
So, man, I love it. Now, you had a chance to flip through this. What did you think about the artwork in this?
So that's the same artist that worked with Philip Kennedy Johnson on The Last God.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I was buying The Last God. I would love to see him do a Conan book.
Oh, God, yeah. Oh,
That's all 100%. I could
100%.
think the whole time looking at that. See him do a Conan story. That would be super interesting to me.
Yeah, like, and he has to work physically, right? Like, there's no way this is digital.
Certainly doesn't look like it.
Because, like I said, you can smell the graphite when you're flipping through these pages. Like, there's just so much texture and, like,
a lot of muted colors.
A lot of muted, like, I love the muted blues in this that they do. But, like, if you're looking at some of these guards, and, like, they kind of remind me of the Gamorrean guards from Star Wars. But, like, it's not just that he's drawing their outlines. Like, and it's not just that he's showing you, like these particular figures are rather large and robust individuals. And it's not just that he's showing you, like, the folds of their skin or where their fat is. He's filling it in, like, with pencil. Like, he puts so much texture in the work that it just gives, like, there's no telling how long this takes him. But this is the kind of, like, there are no panels without backgrounds in this. Like, nothing. And part of me is like, okay, like, he put in this so much extra work on these things that are unnecessary. Like, there's chains in one of the panels that I'm looking at right now, and you don't even know what these things are. And I'm like, man, he could have saved so much time and still got the same point across. But could he have, though? Like, so much of the depth of this world, like, that he's giving you, the details are in that. I really need to go read The Last God. And, our buddy Brian Newberry's somewhere cussing me right now because I haven't finished it, because he preached it for years. But, I'm loving Superman, man. Like, this time last year, I think we've talked about this, I was really down on superhero comics. I've turned around, man, especially with DC. DC's killing it on all fronts. I'm loving what I'm reading. I don't know if it's just where I'm at in life or if the books are different or what, but and it's not even that I've like become less interested in the comics that I was reading. Like, books like Philadelphia still peaking for me. Like, yeah. But it's like the books I'm reading now are just I love this medium and I love this hobby. And there are so many good comics coming out from all across the board that no matter what you're into. I read an all ages comic the other day and just found myself smiling, like my face hurt, because there's just so much quality. But look, Superman is the superhero, right? Like, he's the mold from which all of these. I mean, he wasn't the first. Don't get me wrong. I think the Phantom was the quote unquote first superhero. But he certainly is the mold from which we think of these things deriving. Yeah. And I think Philip Kennedy Johnson gets that. And especially to follow up, to follow in the footsteps of who wrote Superman and the Authority. Why can't I think of their name? Wrote All-Star Superman.
Morrison?
Why, my brain is stupid this morning. It's this crack fuel that you gave me. To follow in the footsteps of Morrison and really pull it off, that's a win.
Yeah, sure.
So I love it. So go check out Superman. Check out Action Comics. It'll treat you a couple of different ways, and you're bound to like one of them. So, well, how you feel, brother?
Good.
Feel ready to kind of wrap this thing up, land the plane?
Yeah.
We can keep going if you want to. I got all day. Like what's the quote? I can do this all day.
Could do this all day. I do want to give my full endorsement to the Batman.
Yeah.
The new.
So we can. So kind of behind the scenes, you had asked me if we wanted to roundtable Batman, and I said it kind of felt too soon because I don't know that there's any way we can talk about it in depth without spoiling it. And it came out Thursday, but we have both seen it. Again, yeah, same. We got time. Talk about it for a second without spoiling it.
Yeah, it's. Of course, it takes place in the second year. We knew this going in. That's not spoiling anything. All the performances in it I thought were great. I really like the I really like the way Batman was presented. Love the way, Robert Patterson. Is it Patterson or Pattinson?
I think it's Pattinson.
Pattinson. I really like his portrayal in this movie. It's a very dark.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of darkness in this movie. The cinematography is excellent. I mean, there's a car chase scene that's just amazing. This is definitely the best Batman representation for me since the Nolan movies.
Yeah, I actually like, as far as Batman, the characterization, I like this better than the Nolan characterization.
Well, Batman, to me, in this one, Batman has more gravity.
Yeah.
In the Nolan movies, it just didn't feel like Batman had a lot of gravity, I guess is what I'm saying. And he feels like he has a lot in this one. He's given a lot more... I don't even know how to say it really, but you just feel more of of course, and a lot of that I think is, there's narration in this one. So that comes across really well. That was done really well. It's a 3-hour movie, and I loved all hours, all minute of it. I was not tired of it. I mean, it was so compelling. I was not sick of it. Didn't want it to be shorter. Didn't feel like anything needed to be cut out. Like you could say that in a lot of movies, like, oh, we didn't need this. I felt like everything in it was great, and we needed all of it. It's hard for me to say anything more without really I want people to go into this movie not knowing more than what's already been said about it. I just want to give it my full endorsement. And I've been telling everybody to go see it. It's not a perfect movie. There is no perfect movie. There's some representations in it that I would have preferred been done a different way. I'll wait and discuss those later. Yeah. But that being said, I still thought it was excellent. I can't wait to watch it again.
So I'm definitely going to see it again. So I'll piggyback off you. I agree with everything you said except for the length of the movie. Now I don't feel like there was anything that had to have been cut out. Like there was nothing in there that I said I wish they hadn't have done this. I was easily satisfied, but there were some things I felt like they could have trimmed. It was a long film, and there were some parts that I think, as far as pacing goes, were slower. And in talk, like I went with my husband to see this, and he is not nearly. He doesn't like art movies the way I like. I tried to get him to watch The Lighthouse leading up to this, and he made it about 20 minutes in. He's like, "I'm not watching this bullshit." I'm like, "This is." He's like, "This is completely a you movie. I get why you like this. This is your English degree coming out in you, but I'm not watching this."
Love The Lighthouse.
Yeah, I do too. I think it's it's wonderful. And Batman is this is a Batman film filtered through art. This is an art film. Parts of it. It is superhero. It is genre, but it's also art film. And there's a lot of those elements in this. And those usually present as slower. You have to hang on to the story more. And so there were moments where he was just like, yeah, no, it could have been 30 minutes shorter and got the same point across. And I think he's right. I think it could have got the same point across.
Well, I'm not saying you couldn't.
Right, but it wasn't needlessly done. Like there was a point to everything. So my take on this is the movie is a little bit Raymond Chandler. It's a lot David Fincher. You can see Lee Bermejo's vision in a lot of this. There's no small amount of Grindhouse kind of style movie. And then there's just a little teeny tiny sliver, a glimmer of Paul Dini tossed into here. I appreciate that it wears its influences on its sleeves, both from like the literary sense, and that's where I say like Raymond Chandler, the dialogue feels like you're watching a crime noir movie, like, and I think I think it's purposefully so, but also from Batman, like there are moments in this that are derived from the prior films that they pay homage to, and it really is an homage. There are some superhero movies you're watching like, okay, they just tried to. The X-Men is a great example. Like, okay, they just redid the script from X3 and this new one, and it's bullshit. This is not that. Again, I think that works against it for some people who are walking in wanting to see, especially with kids who are wanting to see Batman. Like, I think kids will. The way I said it to you guys is, I think kids will be bored and confused by the Humphrey Bogart of it all.
It's not a kid. It's not a kid-friendly movie.
But it's
it's not.
It's hella fun.
Yeah,
The last
I loved it.
the last 10 minutes of the movie are amazing.
Yeah.
Like they counteract the grittiness and the darkness of the whole film, and of just the grittiness and darkness of Batman. It's a good foil for that, showing you the hope of it all. I thought that was fantastic, and yeah, no, I absolutely adored it.
Yeah.
I will see it again.
Yep.
And we will talk about, like, we want to do it. We can't do it next week. Maybe we can do it next week. We want to roundtable it next week and really get
I'm
into
up for it.
Okay, so this is we can do this, and I'll put it on social media and everything. And like, we'll give you a hell of a spoiler warning for those of you who listen to the show. We are going to talk in depth about the Batman next week. That is our roundtable. That means I have to go back to the movies this week. Darn. Oh shucks. But yeah, I think this is great.
Yep.
I loved it. And I've had my fill of Batman now. Please give me other characters.
You know, it's funny too. The last thing I'll say is, I was stoked for this movie.
Yeah.
I was so excited for this movie, and I couldn't help but think to myself, we have gotten so many Batman movies,
Yep.
and I'm still excited about them. It's just it's an interesting thing with me, and a lot of people feel that way. It's just the character is so compelling.
Yeah.
People still get really excited about the latest Batman, the latest take on Batman.
Well, and he's so, like you said, okay, the latest take. He's such a malleable character.
Yeah.
You've got 80-something years of continuity to play off of, and you can give me different versions of it. Like, you know, and there's versions I like better than others, but, you know, the old school TV show, tongue-in-cheek Batman, I liked Adam West. I like that version of Batman.
Yeah.
I like Nolan's version of Batman,
Yep.
and I think in a lot of ways this fits into Nolan's version of Batman. A little more emo-y, but, you know, I think this fits in well. You know, the third Nolan film I was not excited about, but
Oh man, I was
Yeah.
over the moon about the third one.
oh no, like the second one, just after that, I was like, okay, they don't need to make another one after
Man,
this.
give me
With-
Bane. I was like, oh my, Bane. I love the
Oh,
character of
I do
Bane.
too. But after what happened with Heath Ledger and stuff, I was like, this is gonna feel like they cut and pasted something together, and it turned out I was right. So like, yeah, I just was not excited about that. But such a malleable character. That being said, can we please have Nightwing? Now I will say, like, the CW is giving us a lot of side characters and
Yeah.
stuff, like on the small screen, and that's great. Like, we've got Batwoman, you've got this, like, you've got Lois and Clark, you've got these really cool DC characters on the small screen, but give Nightwing the big treatment. Give me a Martian Manhunter movie, like an actual movie. Like, do something cool and creative with it.
Yeah, the thing about Batman is easy money.
Yeah, it is, and it's
Batman is easy money. And so that's why we keep getting them.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to make a Martian Manhunter movie, you're going to have to build. You got to earn that.
Right.
You got to build to it. You know, and that's why the MCU was so successful, is they built those things.
They have.
So, you know, and the DCU has struggled in so many ways for so long. We'll see what they do, but yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I would love to see some more DC characters. I want to see a Jon Stewart Green Lantern movie.
Yeah.
I'd love to see a Hal Jordan Green
Yeah.
Lantern movie. But regardless, Batman's easy money, and Batman's success will only help those movies be made.
Well, and case in point, the same, like you said, Suicide Squad, great example of that. And I think it's who they let helm these things. And the stories,
course, yeah.
because we got Suicide Squad. Like, I will argue till I'm blue in the face, we got Suicide Squad based off the popularity of Harley Quinn.
Yep.
And then from that, we got all of these amazing things, which led to a show like Peacemaker.
Yeah.
Like were you like, I didn't know who Peacemaker was 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, straight up, I will be very honest about it. Like, I'd never heard of that character or whatever, and now you've got John Cena playing him on a beloved television show. And it really is, what story are you telling, and can you use these really popular fundamental characters as an avenue or a bridge to get some of these behind the scenes stories?
Yeah.
And I think you can. Obviously, we can. Now, James Gunn is James Gunn.
Yeah.
And then, but I really hope that with a film like this, which is having amazing success, apparently it blew the Nolan box office numbers out the water.
Yeah.
Like people were just ready for
Well,
this.
and now I want to on that point, people forget, a lot of people didn't go watch the Nolan movie because they still had a hangover from the Schumacher movie.
Oh, yeah.
I know many people back in the day. I had to convince people, no, go watch it, because the first thing, I don't know how many people I talked to back in the day when Batman Begins came out were like, oh no, and they bring up Batman and Robin. I'm like, no, there's a clean slate. You've got to go watch it. You will thank me. So that's a hangover this movie doesn't have. I mean, it has the hangover of Zack Snyderverse,
it's also hard to explain that movie to kids nowadays. I'm like, no, those are the bad guys. Yeah, no, the guy who wants to fight global warming and the chick who wants to fight deforestation, they're the villains.
Yeah.
The capitalist billionaire, he's the guy you're rooting for.
Yeah, oh boy.
It's hard to explain, but no, man, I'm like, yeah, let's do that next week.
Definitely.
Let's talk about it. So, well, let's bring this thing home. And as we always are wont to do, we hope you guys have enjoyed the show. We're going to end this per the norm, per the usual, as they say. I don't think they actually say that.
Per the usual.
By telling you, we're going to take a little glimpse into the future and tell you guys some things that we are hoping to bring home from our local comic book shop in the midst of our stack this next week. So, Matt, what are you grabbing on Wednesday?
Well, there's a lot coming out next week that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah.
But I think I'm going to have to recommend from Fantagraphics, Ed Piskor's Red Room Trigger Warnings, #1.
I am shocked.
Right? Yeah. This is the beginning of the new arc for Red Room. And this series has just been so over the top. I can't wait to see what he does next to move this story forward. I really, really like this comic. I've said it before. This reeks of 70s other underground comics.
Yeah.
The story style, the art, the just very unapologetic and anything but mainstream approach I really like. And frankly, it doesn't hurt that the setting and the things that are happening are not far-fetched as far as what could really happen. It's not at all. And I could give real-world examples of that, but I won't. I don't want to bring it down.
People are gonna be a little bit worried about signing on to your internet there, Matt. I'm like, FBI
being a true crime buff,
yeah. All those things that you said about it feeling like a 70s underground comic, like that's what makes me think that you would like that Heavy Metal Drummer book. Mm-hmm. Even though I will say it's not like you shouldn't expect it to be on par with Red Room. Even though I don't like Red Room, like that was not a book for me. I can appreciate the talent and craft that it is. That's not Heavy Metal Drummer, but it's still like in that wheelhouse. I think you would.
It's in that trippy, psychedelic stuff.
Yep. So check that out. My book that I'm going to recommend to you all, kind of set the menu with, is also going to be a shocker. I know you did not expect me to talk about this character. Completely out of character. We're getting another chapter of the Cimmerian from Ablaze Comics. A little character that I know and you know and we know and love, Mr. Conan, the Barbarian, the Conqueror, the King
of Cimmeria.
I love these books. I double dip on them, so I get both the floppies and the hardcovers when they come out because they are amazing. This particular one, this coming out, is Hour of the Dragon, which, interestingly enough, is not one that I've heard of, and I don't think that you have heard of.
No, I hadn't heard of this one.
So in this book, it is a world to explore, a throne to be reconquered under the funeral vaults of the mausoleum belonging to the ancient and cruel Emperor Zalaton of Python. 3 men devoured by ambition come to offer the inert body of the deceased sovereign, the heart of Amaran, the source of immortality, which once belonged to him. Taken away at the cost of his life, in exchange for this offering, the 3 men claim a single thing: the world. However, there's only one person able to stand in their way, a Cimmerian who seized the throne of Aquilonia, Conan. The Hour of the Dragon is the only full-length Conan novel written by Robert E. Howard, and is considered by many to be one of his best works, which I question that, because again, unless I just don't know the title of it, I haven't heard of this. I'm excited, though. Dude, this is being brought to you by Julian Blondell, Valentin Shearer, and Dan Penosin did the covers of it.
So, does it say how many issues this is?
I would assume 2 or 3. It doesn't on here.
Given that it's a novel and not a short story length, that's why I asked that question.
Yeah. Julian Blondell is the writer of Elric, and Valentin Shearer is the artist of the Meta Baron. He did some of that work for Humanoids. So they call it a grandiose, bloodthirsty epic. And again, Dan Panosian doing the covers.
Oh, man.
What's not to love about
great.
that? It does say it's a mini-series. It doesn't say how many issues it's going to be, but typically it's 2 or 3.
But they're short stories.
Yeah.
So maybe this will be like a 6-issue run.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
I'm on board for whatever it is.
Yeah.
I've got all of these. I really want to get these bound. Like I want, like I've never been into, like I've never done a comics binding thing.
Yeah.
But at some point I want to get these bound. But do I really need to if I've got the hardcovers? I don't know. It's a personal decision.
It's a struggle.
It is. What do I do? What do I do?
I only recommend that you spend a lot of time mulling it over, make the right decision at the end.
I mean, I just like to hold them and caress them, like I pet the spines, and in my heart, I feel them smile because that's what Conan stories do. So either way, maybe come tell me your opinions on binding comics on our Facebook group, which I mentioned before, or you can drop pictures of it if you've ever bound a comic. You can tag us on Instagram and Twitter. We're at SFG Podcast on both of those. And last but not least, I'll repeat, emails, southernfriedgeekery@gmail.com. We certainly hope you've enjoyed the last about an hour and a half of us waxing poetic and just really enjoying the sequential art that we devoured this week. We're going to be back next week. I won't say the same place or same time. I'm not sure if that's going to be true or not, but we will be back next week with another show. We're going to talk about, obviously, a film that we saw and then some more comics that we are going to geek out on. So in the meantime, check out your local comic shop, support your local business, buy your comics no matter what. Stealing is wrong, kids. And then have a great week. Why, fuck it. We want you to be happy. And in the meantime, go forth and love some comics.
Word.